Foo Fighters' Medicine at Midnight dropped today, and as many of you know, this was my most anticipated album of the entire year. I love the Foos so much. They have such an incredible stage presence, and some of their albums are some of my favorites of all time, two of those being There's Nothing Left to Lose and The Color and the Shape. Exactly a month ago, I ranked my favorite songs by them with Chris from Filmstock, so I'll link the video up here and down below. I just absolutely love them. I love Dave. He's one of my heroes, and I always find myself watching videos of them bringing people up on stage because I find it really entertaining and sweet. He's just such a well-hearted guy, and they're easily one of my favorite bands of all time. Just over a month ago, I watched their show at Wembley, which is on their YouTube channel for free, and it was so electric and just so exciting. I loved it so much, and they, as I said, have such an amazing stage presence, but I also really love their recorded albums. I read a review of Medicine at Midnight after I had finished the album, and they said that they only like them live, they don't like the recording things, and I don't really get that because this album was phenomenal. I'd listened to the songs when they were like pre-released, so Shame Shame, No Son of Mine, and Waiting on a War. I reacted to Shame Shame and Waiting on a War. If you're in America though, the video might be blocked for you. Sorry about that, but I'll also link those down below. One of the most common issues I have with actual albums is that they aren't consistent. To have a great album, you need the listener to want to go back and listen to the entire thing over and over again. And Medicine at Midnight, once again, just like most of the Foo Fighters work, is consistent as hell. There actually is not a single bad song on this album. I loved every single song but two, but even with those two songs, I still really like them. I'll talk more about them later. The band has talked about how this album has a different sound, and it does for sure because it almost pays homage to kind of different time periods of music. What I mean by that, with like the opening song on this album, it has some female backing vocals and some na 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 na, so it sounds like an old ABBA song. But the thing is, they never feel like they're stealing. They still mix the classic Foo Fighter sound along with these kind of different takes, I'd say. I think that's the best way to describe it. It's like this whole different kind of thing, but you still feel that, yeah, this is Foo Fighters for sure. And that also is due to some incredible guitar and drums. Taylor Hawkins really stands out on the drums a lot of the time here. We have some headbangers as well as some slow burns, and it never felt jarring. Like, the mix of them was done really well. I'm gonna rank all the songs on this album on probably Monday or Tuesday, so I won't go fully in depth about them all, but I will spoil my favorite song from this album, and that is by far Waiting on a War. Now that I've heard the song about 10 times, maybe a little bit less, but about 10 times, I can say that it might just be my favorite Foo Fighters song since These Days, which was on Wasting Lights in 2011. Which is also a super underrated album. I mean, that album is fantastic. Go listen to it after this video. When talking about like the mixing of the songs, as I said, I should mention that the album flows from the upbeat Holding Poison to the beautiful slow burn Chasing Birds, which is essentially Walking After You from The Color and the Shape. But on this album, Walking After You is one of my favorite songs from that album. It's also the best Foo Fighters album. The two songs on here that I don't love per se, what I mean by that is that I still really enjoy listening to them when I'm listening to the entire album. Like, I have no problem that they're on the album at all. I think that they fit really well. It's just I wouldn't really choose to put them on like a playlist or listen to them on their own, although one of them is really growing on me, and those two songs are Cloud Spotter and Shame Shame. I know Shame Shame is the biggest song off this album right now, and it's really good. It really is really good. It's just not as great as the other ones. The same goes for Cloud Spotter, but I can also see Shame Shame growing on me, and I feel like they might open some of their shows with that. Like, I feel like when they go on tour next, that one could open a lot of their shows unless they're doing one of their like classic songs. From the electric No Son of Mine to the calming Chasing Birds, Medicine at Midnight is a fantastic album from one of my favorite bands. This was my most anticipated album of the year, and it did not disappoint. I've listened to it already 3 times all the way through, and it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Please check this out if you love rock. I'm gonna give Medicine at Midnight a 4.5 out of 5. I got up earlier than normal to listen to this. My parents were actually surprised that I was up because I was like, I have to listen to this before school. It's online, but I still had to listen to this, and I listened to it all, and I was like, oh, this is so awesome. And I'll just say this really quickly, but for me, basically all of my favorite bands were popular kind of back then. I'm not trying to be like that person, but when you look at my favorite bands, which I'll do a video on soon, a lot of them aren't together anymore because of, deaths of singers. Kurt Cobain, Lane Staley, Chris Cornell. So like Soundgarden, Nirvana, Alice in Chains is still different. But last year, we had a Pearl Jam album, which was great, and now we have a Foo Fighters album. And since I really got into rock in August, this is like the first big release that I was super excited for, and I'm so glad it was great. Like, it really was. I might rank the Foo Fighters albums. I still have to actually listen to Sonic Highways and Concrete and Gold, and I think the rest of like Echo, Silence, Patience and Grace. I think that's what it's called. I've heard like most of it, so I might do that next week, maybe, probably not, but for sure I'll rank them on my music board, so make sure to follow me there. What did you think of this album though? Tell me in the comments down below what are your favorite songs. Make sure to come back for that ranking on Monday or Tuesday. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Over and out.